Hi.
2, 3, 4, scoodle doo,
I want a new partner. My name's Julian.
My name is Tom.
Hello. We are Believe, a Ted Lasso podcast. We are here to talk about season 2, episode 8. We are also Team Binge. I did those out of order, but it doesn't matter. This episode's called Man City. You love this title, Tom. Tell me more.
It seems like a bit of a throwaway title. They kind of recorded the episode and like, oh, who did they play? They played Man City. All right.
They didn't even say Manchester City. They just said Man City.
Man City's kind of like the slang term for Manchester City.
Sounds like a city full of man. This one is about Sharon and Ted relying on each other after Sharon's episode with the
Car?
bicycle. Yeah, the car, the bicycle meeting at an impromptu time. Jamie and his dad. There's quite a bit of dad stuff actually in this episode, which you called on an episode 1 or 2 back. But as Higgins points out, sons and fathers is kind of a common theme, even though Jamie's unaware. The other thing is the developing relationship of Sam and Rebecca. And every time I see the word Sam and Rebecca, I think of
Sam and Diane.
Sam and Diane and the obvious parallels there. We won't get into it. We start off in Sharon's flat. Dr. Sharon, we're going to refer to her as Sharon.
Dr. Sharon Fieldstone is her last name.
Dr. Sharon Sharonson in her flat. She is talking about Lasso, and we discover that she is talking to a therapist. So this is a therapist talking to a therapist.
It's very meta.
Kind of like thinking about a doctor going to a doctor when they're sick.
It's therapy inception.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, shut this podcast off and go watch Inception. That would be my advice, because we're only going to get worse. We find out they are alike. The therapist is kind of explaining, hey, Ted uses humor to deflect. You use your intellect to deflect. And then Dr. Sharon says something like they try to make it fancy. And she's like, oh, I use my savantish nature. I was like, who says that? Who calls themselves savantish?
Intellectuals, man.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
You're clearly not an intellectual like me and Dr. Sharon.
Yes. That's why I wrote a negative word about people that talk like that, which is fine. Dr. Sharon is riding her bike through town. We're listening to some great music. Who is the music by, Tom?
I don't know. Did you look it up?
No, I didn't either.
It was great.
Was it?
Oh, it sounded great.
Okay, good for you. And then she gets hit by a car.
Yeah. A bit abrupt.
A bit abrupt. I thought she was going to die.
Yeah, like the way they framed this of like showing her like, motionless hand, the telephone ringing, Lasso calling, the bike all bent up. Like, it was like and then it cuts to credits right there too. And I'm like, oh great, here we go. Another episode where they're going to kill a major character.
Yeah, where the dog gets hit with the ball. No, I'm with you. It was, as you pointed out, framed in a way that was very dramatic. And I gotta be honest, it put me on edge through the whole episode, where even after she was like fine and returned home, every time someone like entered a room seriously, I was like, oh, she went to sleep and never woke up. They like misdiagnosed the brain injury. That's what I kept thinking. I was a little bit on edge because I like Dr. Sharon. I think as we discover, she's good for Ted, but it made me a little bit nervous for what was going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And like even I think after the credits, then it goes to the office, right, with Roy and Beard, and they're seemingly like solemn or somber or whatever. They're not talking.
Yeah, they're just staring at each other.
So like I'm like, do they know what happened? And obviously we find out that no, they don't. They're kind of not in the know quite yet. But yeah, it's just a very odd way to start and set up an episode, especially when she just kind of has a concussion. Not to say the concussions aren't a serious issue; it's brain trauma, but they make it seem like she would have been in the hospital for days, weeks, months, who knows?
Right. No, I'm with you. I thought it was weird to then have her enter in a scene or two later and be relatively fine, a little bit shook up. But, oh, you know what? This reminds me of the time I was hit by a car on a bicycle.
Were you hit by a car on a bicycle?
Well, let's just say who was doing the hitting and who was doing the non-hitting. It's all a little bit mixed, but I rode a bike to uni, as we say in the biz,
Yep.
because we did not live far. It was a bike that my older brother, had obtained from somewhere. I don't know, Goodwill. Someone had put it on the side of the street for bulk trash. I don't know. My brother was like, "Hey, I'll put tires on it if you want to ride it to university." I was like, "Cool." He's like, "You want me to do the brakes?" I was like, "I don't need brakes. It's only a mile away or something like that, and it's all side streets." Needless to say, I was late for class one day. I'm pumping along a cross intersection, and I was not paying attention. I blew through the stop sign. Someone was taking a right turn, and I just slammed right into them.
Jeez.
I went over the car. I went over their car. I landed on the ground. I mean, this will tell you the severity of it. I lost my flip flops.
Wow.
And I was in like Arizona, so to be barefoot alone on asphalt
Did you have a
is
helmet on?
oh, absolutely not. No, no, no. I had headphones in. I remember getting up, trying to find my shoes. I was more embarrassed, like you're in so much pain, but you're also just embarrassed because a bunch of people just watched you essentially flip over a car. Someone was trying to talk to me. I couldn't understand what they were saying, and I was kind of like, "Oh no, I've gone deaf." And then I realized my headphones were still in, so I had to take my headphones off. And I did that thing that everyone does, where they're like, "No, no, no, I'm fine. It's nothing. A mere flesh wound."
You're just bleeding
And
and you can
I
barely
was road
walk.
rash everywhere. I think it was a girl got out of the car and she's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh, is your car okay?" I was trying to be like super cool.
Yeah.
She looked at me like I was an idiot, got in the car and drove off. I was like, "All right, fine." And then I did not ride that bike to class. I wheeled that bike to class, and it was like dun, dun, dun,
I was
dun,
gonna say at
dun,
that
dun.
point it's
Oh
probably
yeah, it was
toast.
messed up. And then I had to go into the university bathroom and use those brown paper towels that absorb nothing and wipe the blood off my arms and legs. And then I sat in class. And then after that class, I was in so much pain. I was like, "I'm gonna go home." So then I went home.
Did you get concussed?
I never went to a doctor, so I never like threw up or had any issues. So I'm assuming I'm fine. I'm still fine. I
Wow.
remember the event.
So what did we learn from this situation?
What we learned is that I am invincible.
I'm invincible. I
I
can't be
cannot be killed.
killed.
Anyways, that's when that car or whoever hit who knows.
Well, I don't have a bike hitting a car story, unfortunately. All my bike hitting car, my people hitting car scenario starts and ends with The Office,
Okay.
where
Yep.
Meredith gets hit by Michael Scott.
Yep. And then finds out she has
Rabies. So
rabies.
saved her life.
We're in the office with Roy and Beard, and they are staring at each other. And I did not really understand. I guess they were having some sort of not going to talk first conversation. I don't know. Keeley comes in. Keeley's like, "Hey, I've got a opportunity for someone to be a spokesperson. I need a coach." Both of them just stare at her. She immediately, understands that as a no. She leaves. Beat later, Nate comes in. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to be a spokesperson,"
That was good.
which is just great. And then we have this kind of fun back and forth with Roy and Beard being on the exact same page.
Mm-hmm.
And because we find out like Roy's going to teach or run training. Nate's like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, Ted had an emergency." What was the emergency? I don't know. It's his business.
Yeah,
If he
he didn't
wanted me
tell
to know,
us.
he would have told me.
Yeah.
They're both on the same page, which is funny. I don't know that I ever. I mean, do we really see Roy and Beard interact?
I don't think we have. Like they've been in the same room together, but we don't necessarily see them interact. And I think here we see them quote unquote interact of like just Beard pointing and like one liners kind of a thing.
Right. And
But
being
it's
like,
not much of a
yes, yeah,
conversation.
no, it's not. But we're supposed to understand that they are very similar. We also find out that this is the FA Cup semifinals.
Yes. Which I think I don't think they laid the groundwork at all to say that they were playing Man City, unless I missed something from previous episodes. I know they beat Tottenham, which was a big win. They said they're going to go to the semifinals, but they made this big deal in this episode to say they're playing Man City, to say they're playing Jamie's old team, which I think we had talked about in previous pods about. Oh, this would be interesting if they play Jamie's previous team and they do
Right.
something with it. But I felt like this just kind of threw this
Was
on
sprung
us.
on you.
Yeah, like once they went to Wembley, once they went onto the pitch and they played this game, I'm like, I did not realize we were going to have this big football soccer moment here, and it all kind of happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of
Very
interesting
quickly.
how they did it.
Yeah.
Now, how many games would a team have already played before they got to the semifinals. I know I'm setting you up for a difficult question. Give it some thought as we talk about how Nate just wants to run training, and we kind of go from Ted's not running it, Roy's not running it, Beard doesn't want to run it.
Yeah,
So he's like, Nate, you've got it. And Nate's super stoked.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer for my
But
question?
I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier. The FA Cup is a gigantic tournament where a lot of the Premier League teams and these championship teams, they don't play as many games as some of the lower division guys have to play
because they've got to work their way.
Point. Yeah. So by the semifinal, I think again, once these teams start playing, it's 32 teams. So say they've played to 16 to 8 to 4, so they've played 3 to 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but we skipped all those because we only saw one, right?
We just saw the Tottenham game, so that would have been the quarterfinals.
Got it. We are then in the workout room where everything important that has ever happened in Sam's life happens to him while he is on a stationary bike. That stationary bike. He's reading a book. Jamie gets a call from his dad, which he ignores. Sam gets a call from his dad, which he takes. This is like showing the differences, like bad dad, good dad. And that's about as much depth as we get from that. But what finally comes around, something we've been waiting the conclusion on, is the Dubai Air's relationship to
Nigeria,
to cerulean oil.
Yes, in Nigeria.
And who the father's like, Sam, you did it. You were the butterfly's wings that started the. He had recently watched The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher.
It was like, it was cool.
Great TV. Let me finish your sentence for you. Great TV.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like, I don't know. Like, I love the idea of like an activist like Sam using his platform, and we kind of not really see the effect, but we just kind of get told, hey, activism works and it's great. You did a great job.
Sure.
But it was super quick, and they just gave this up for 3 or 4 episodes, and now just brought it back and said, hey, we got this really big problem. 3 episodes, ignore it, and we solved it.
Sam solved it, and his dad's acknowledging that that he did, and that's how we know Sam's dad is a good guy, even though Sam's dad disowned him after one text.
Yeah.
But that's fine. He seems like a nice guy. My favorite part of this whole scene was when Colin almost dies twice. The callback of he's doing the bench press and he's off. He's like out of frame below, and then you realize someone's spotting him. And I looked at the weight, and this is no judgment on Colin, but I think it was a total of 85 pounds that was killing him.
False.
It was more than that?
No, there's 20 kilos on each side.
Oh, 20... no! Oh, no! The imperial system and the metric system get me again.
20 kilos is roughly 45 pounds, so that was 135 pounds. They were plates. I mean, I figured you would have had that. You're a lifter of weights.
Well, they're the rubber ones, so I assumed they were the weight. All right. Well, whatever.
And he's a football player, man. He's not an American football player.
No, I just thought in a life or death situation, 85 pounds didn't seem too much to roll off of your neck, but you know,
it was 135 pounds.
It was 135 pounds.
Colin's a little guy.
Much worse. That's okay. Why didn't you say anything? It was on my neck. With Jamie. Jamie's like, why didn't you say anything? It's on my neck.
Blames him.
Yeah, the team. And solving the environmental crisis gives Sam the confidence to text this random person on BANTR and invite that person to dinner.
It's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go to the.
He's like, I solved Nigeria's issues.
Time for to solve mine.
I'm gonna solve Sam's issues. Okay, and the whole team. It's so funny the way they like rally around him and cheer.
3 dots, 3 dots, 3 dots.
It's as if they've won the game already, which is really fun. And then we find out. And has this been referenced anywhere else?
Nowhere.
Okay, you're shaking your head and you're letting me know that I did not miss this.
Nope.
Sam wants Isaac to cut his hair.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? Okay.
I feel like Isaac had to be a barber in his first life, or I don't know if it's his hobby, if he was what he was doing before he played football, but yeah.
The scene it goes into is fun. Like I did enjoy it, but I was kind of like, all right, I guess, are we just giving Isaac more to do? Is that what it is?
Dude, he's an artist, man. You gotta let him paint.
Let him paint, that's for sure. That's great right there. Yeah. False. Then we're at the hospital. Ted takes a severe shot at American healthcare. He's like, "Oh, you can come into a hospital and it's all free." Blah blah blah. USA, USA.
We gotta pay for our stuff.
We gotta pay for our
But
stuff.
we don't even
baby.
know what we're paying.
We don't, but it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. Crippling in
Ugh.
some sense. Anyways, Ted picks up Dr. Sharon in the hospital. Was he her emergency contact? Is that why is Ted the one that is okay, so she's from somewhere else. She's been brought into town to be the psychologist for Richmond, right? She's not
Yes.
from there. They make a mention that she's in housing, like corporate housing. So
Yeah.
she obviously isn't from there. So she doesn't have anyone else. It's just Ted. Do they go into this at all?
I don't like. We'll get to it in the next scene or a later scene where they're kind of like reading off her voice notes to Ted. Like I feel like maybe she was concussed, and as she was concussed, like waiting for somebody or waiting for help, she just kept sending Ted these voice notes.
Okay, so the
And
only reason he's there is because he got those voice notes.
I think so. So he knew that she was in trouble or something else, and I don't know. Maybe they were kind of fast and loose. They did not really explain why he was there. Like we wanted to get these characters together to solve some of their issues from previous episodes, but
Sure.
it did not get explained very well.
Sure. What's funny is Ted is talking with her doctor as she is like releasing Sharon to him.
Yeah.
And he starts naming off brain injuries. And she's like, "Oh, you know a lot about." He's like, "Well, I used to coach American football."
Yeah.
You know, the one with the concussions and the kneeling issue. Very funny.
Did you realize the doctor's name?
No.
The doctor's name was Doctor.
Was it really?
Well, I'm sure it's not. On her little scrubs, it literally just says Doctor on it. So I'm assuming, like in like the UK, like UK hospitals, you probably have to like wear something on your thing that
Sure.
says you're a doctor versus a nurse versus
Right.
an assistant or whatever else it is. But it was kind of funny because it's underneath her stethoscope.
She should have had a name from Scrubs. That would have been great.
Yeah, that
Elliot,
would have been
JD, any one of those. Dr. Dorian. Ted then takes Dr. Sharon home. There's a little bit of TV magic here where Dr. Sharon doesn't want him to take her home, but the doctor's like, "No, with head injuries, someone's got to take you home."
Yeah.
Plot develops, baby. Here we go. Then we're at school. Oh, okay. So Roy can't do training or can't run training because he gets an emergency. We assume it is this call from Phoebe's school.
Yeah.
So he's sitting in the funny little chairs. Have you had to do a teacher conference for your kid in funny little chairs?
I haven't done a teacher conference. My mom is a kindergarten teacher, so whenever I would go to her classroom, we got to sit in these little tiny adorable little chairs.
Yep. I have, with my kids' age, I have been to parent-teacher things where now they're just doing them all over video, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything positive about a pandemic, but having to do a parent-teacher conference over video is whatever.
Do you feel like it's a teacher's like power trip where they make you the teacher or the parents sit in these little tiny chairs?
No, because from what I recall, they would either sit in a small one or they would be standing. I don't think it's a power trip. I think it's our education system is too poor to bring in adult chairs when adults show up for, I don't know, one time a year. But hey, USA, USA. What we find out is Roy is there because, I'm sorry, Phoebe is there and Roy is there because Phoebe curses too much.
What a shocker.
Right, a shocker, yeah. There is a funny moment here where she's like, do you know Phoebe's dad? And he's like, yeah, he's a real piece of poop.
Yeah.
And she's like, is he alive? He's like, yeah, he's a live piece of poop.
Yeah.
Just the way he talks about him is great. And we find out, to Roy's great surprise, that the reason Phoebe swears so much is because Roy swears so much.
Oh, he like looks and he's like, oh.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. We're blown away by this?
Roy has some of that like Ted in him, where like Ted seemingly doesn't know some very basic human interaction things. It was odd.
Drives me crazy. Anyways, my big question to you is, did the teacher and Roy, do they have a thing? Are they going to fall in love? There's some chemistry between this teacher and Roy.
I mean, we saw her in earlier episodes where she was when he was like the coaching the kids,
Oh,
and he
she
was
tells him,
yelling at
yeah.
him like, "Hey, stop the cursing" and stuff like that. So he already kind of laid the groundwork for this. I think they definitely have chemistry, but I don't think it's anything necessarily romantic. I've been wrong before on this podcast,
Right,
but
like well, my thought is Keely and Ted will end together inevitably, and
uh,
that Roy and school teacher Bowen, Mrs. Bowen, I believe is her name,
yeah.
will wind up together as
Wait, wait,
well.
wait, wait. It's Mrs. Bowen.
Miss Bowen.
Oh, I don't know. Are we sure about that?
MS, yeah, MS
Okay,
Bowen.
you
Yeah,
checked.
yeah, I did check. I mean, if there's a chance, I wanted to know. She's got a lovely Irish accent. It melted my heart.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher explains all this to Roy, and I will get to my point later, but this leads to a conversation with Roy and Phoebe in the car
Mm-hmm.
where Roy puts all the ownership on Phoebe. Like, I'm not going to stop swearing. Phoebe, you've got to not swear. Like, I'm not going to be the adult. You've just got to not swear. I thought this was very strange.
I feel like that's like it's a good early life lesson for a kid. Like, say as or do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. Like he's a grown man, he curses, and we know he's not going to change. And I almost feel like it goes a wink to the audience. Like we don't want Roy to not curse. Like that's why we love him and like a lot of his acting and his roles.
You
So
don't think an episode of Roy trying to come up with funny alternatives to swearing, like we have to do on this podcast, would be an entertaining?
I feel like what was that? What was the show with the heaven and stuff like that where they said holy forks or something?
Oh, The Good
The
Place.
Good Place. I feel like they already did that joke of trying to
Okay.
redo all the curse
I've
words.
been doing that joke my whole life, man. You say things like freaking and I don't know,
I
whatever
do
else there is.
I do appreciate how that sequence ends though, where it's like the teacher telling them not to curse, they leave the room, and the teacher's like, "Effing glitter."
Yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
share that sentiment. Glitter is the absolute worst. When that
Al-
kid comes home with glitter in his hands, oh,
Also, that scene ends with Phoebe asking for ice cream and Roy saying no, and then they're eating ice cream in
in
the
the car.
next scene, which is great. Ted and Dr. Sharon are walking through the town, through the village, through Richmond. I don't know what to call it. And we're getting the end of a Ronnie Fouch story. Do you remember Ronnie Fouch?
I heard the name. I didn't look it up. I saw you put in the outline.
Ronnie
Who
Fouch
is this
is
man?
the kid that would wrap poop in Snickers bars and hand it to other kids on the playground. It was one of Ted's life lessons that if Ronnie Fouch offers
Oh,
you a Snickers bar on the playground, you say no and you run. So
that's funny. Okay.
Ronnie Fouch's thing is just to feed people gross stuff.
So Vaseline sandwich is what he does in this story. Okay,
Yes,
I
I
did
would
not pick that
assume
up.
Ronnie Fouch grew up to be a doctor.
Like
Why?
Maybe you change his name to Ronnie Fauci. Dr. Fauci? No?
Never heard of him.
Okay, fair enough.
So this is where we have the discussion about he starts playing her voice messages, and
Mm-hmm.
so this is your assumption. He's not her emergency contact. It's just
He kind
this
of
was the because I guess maybe he called her during the crash, so that's the last number in her phone. So
yeah.
she calls him back,
Well, she
concussed.
like it almost was like drunk dialing the way they set this up. Like,
No,
cause
oh, I agree.
Ted says like, "Oh, this is all your stuff," and you said it because you were in a concussed state, but it's really what you meant and all that kind of stuff. But it was kind of nonsense. So maybe, or not necessarily nonsense, but not in Dr. Sharon's character because what she's singing like West Side Story at the end of it.
Yeah,
And
I feel like this is another West Side Story callback, like
yeah,
because Nate played, he was like the stand-in
oh,
for
that's right.
Maria or
Okay.
whatever. Anyways, it's all great. It's great storytelling. Loved every moment of it. Isaac's given a haircut, and this
Yeah.
is a sacred event. And there's only one person in the room who doesn't get how sacred this is.
Jan Moss.
Jan Moss. Jan Moss, great. Jan Moss is me. Jan Moss is wonderful. He's like, I don't understand the big deal. And everyone's like, shut up. It's great.
The pageantry and music in this sequence is just
So good.
beautiful.
It was a bit. Yeah, it was very. I mean, I was laughing.
Like
I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm laughing.
He opens his locker, his like McAdoo. He opens that little piece. He's got like that box that has his shears in it. Apparently has
Sure.
multiple shears. Yeah, it's lovely.
I'm assuming shears is the English word for clippers.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I don't know.
I thought shears is what you used on sheep, not people.
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. I thought you were bringing more culture to this podcast. Obviously not. Forgive me for Jan Mossing you. Sam starts talking about his date because they're like, hey, you're wasting your one haircut on a blind date. And Jamie's line, which I think is the one that we will tweet out after this episode, is I'll give you the honors, my friend. It is a great line, and I loved every moment of it.
What if you and this babe only have textual chemistry?
I'll give it a shot. What if you and this babe only have textual chemistry? You can write us and tell us who did it better.
So the assumption is he's thinking sexual and textual, like text messaging chemistry.
Yes, Tom. Let's not break down Jamie too far. Yes, that's exactly what he's doing.
He likes the rhyming.
This is Jamie's clever play on words, and I actually really appreciated it.
Is it him being clever or him not knowing any better?
No, I think this is him being clever. Okay. Every once in a while, I think Jamie's got a real zinger. Then we find out that Jamie's dad wants tickets. He texts them while he's. I would like to talk about Jamie's wardrobe during this part. I will describe it to you in detail.
I don't know if I remember.
It is like a puffy jean jacket with the zipper inverted, and by zipper inverted I mean the stitching of the zipper is on the outside, and then he's got a bunch of gold chains, and it's zipped all the way up to the neck.
So classy is what you're trying to say.
I loved it. Christmas is coming, Tom. I'd like one. That's what I'm getting at. Then they walk down to. How does he know it's Higgins' office?
I was thinking the exact same
thing. It's a closet.
Yeah.
Why does he knock on it?
He knocks on the door, and then he's surprised he's in there, but he seemingly is looking for Higgins. Yeah, it's just. It makes no sense.
Idea. Makes no sense. I feel like there's a scene where he's like, hey, where's Higgins at? And he's like, oh, downstairs closet. Okay, that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But no, Jamie just wonders if. I guess maybe this is 3 hours later, and Jamie's knocked on every door in the building, and it's just been closet. Wrong office, bathroom.
I do love how Higgins has made this his office. There's plants and stuff in there. He makes a joke about, hey, if I spill anything, I can just clean it up right here.
I love Higgins. Justice for Higgins being shoved into a closet, but I didn't understand this. So then they start having, because Jamie's like, hey, I need tickets for my dad and his friends, and they start talking about the complicated relationship. And
Jamie opens up here. He doesn't have to, but he starts the conversation of opening up about his relationship with his dad.
That's true, and he does ask Higgins. He's like, hey, what's it like with you and your dad? Yeah. He's trying to get some insight here, and I feel like Higgins handles it well. I don't know. I know you didn't like Higgins in the beginning. I have continued to love Higgins. I feel like he's a good glue to everyone else. Yeah. I think he speaks reason a lot of the time. Which I'm an extremely reasonable person, never done anything unreasonable in my life. So
I feel like what the show is doing, it's trying to put an edge on every single character, but Higgins. It did it with Dr. Sharon in this episode when we'll get to it, but Ted is really snoopy in her apartment, and it shows her drinking and things like that, and it makes she seems ashamed of it almost, where she's putting it in the trash and all that kind of stuff. It's trying to really just paint, and I get it, everybody has their issues and stuff, but they don't necessarily share them out loud, but Higgins is seemingly the only main character that we have now that hasn't shown that.
Right. Long-term loving relationship, 5 relatively well-adjusted children, he seems to be kind to people. I'm with you. It's anyways, love Higgins. And Jamie talks about his dad, and he's like, he's a in every situation, he does what a would do. Not much I can do with that. Just a great summation of his father. And then Higgins' response is, I try to love my dad for who he is and forgive him for who he isn't.
Yeah.
Or for what he isn't.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. Good advice from Big H. What are Jamie Tart's dad's friends' names?
So he's got James Tart, which is a classic name.
Sure.
We've got Dendo Cullens, which is a fun name.
Denbo.
Excuse me, not Denbo. And then Bug. Only one G, like the animal.
The animal. Which is such a
And it's like,
great
oh,
line.
because he's small in stature, they call him Bug.
Yeah.
No, because he eats bugs for money.
$8 for money.
So weird.
I'm assuming those three gentlemen will get a spin-off show.
I hope not. Man, his dad is a jerk.
Yeah, we'll talk about him towards the end. Love Higgins. I wish there was more Higgins in this episode. What I thought was interesting is how Jamie kept referring to his dad as a detective. He's like, he's a dick, a detective.
Yeah.
You know, and in every situation he acts like a dick, a detective.
Yeah, he's always,
asking questions. And he's like, but one more thing. Tell me, why were your hands all wet? And then that's how the murder's discovered. Anyways, next thing we find ourselves is ice cream in the car. There's biscuits with the boss. There's ice cream. No, I guess it's ice cream in the Land Rover or whatever it is.
It's a Land Rover.
It's Roy and Phoebe. Once again, he said no ice cream. They find themselves having ice cream in the car. I thought there was an interesting move here where Roy puts his ice cream in the cup holder. Did you notice this?
It's not the same thing, man. You're in a beautiful Land Rover and you're just throwing your ice cream in a cup.
And I don't know that I'm not going to go back and verify. I don't know that his was a flat bottom cone. I think his is like a pointy cone.
Let's maybe give him some credit. Maybe he had a cup in that cup holder. So
okay.
He's done with his ice cream and he's just putting it in there. Let's hope that's what he's doing.
Well, my other issue is Roy's already talked about his issue with dairy. So after this scene, he's probably going to go poop his pants.
I forgot about that. That's great.
Oh, man. I thought we all agreed we weren't going to poop our pants, Roy. He is talking with Phoebe about not swearing. And he's like, listen, I'm a footballer. Swearing comes with the job.
Gotta swear.
Yeah, there's certain jobs that's just part of it.
Name another job you gotta swear.
I don't know. Being a podcaster.
Construction worker.
Being in the military. Probably being a cop. Because how else would you call detectives anything other than dicks?
That's very true. Yep.
I've got to bleep so much now. Man. All right. So we find out, what does Phoebe want to be when she grows up?
He wants to be a veterinarian.
A veterinarian of something very specific.
Wild animal veterinarian.
This was such a funny bit. Because Roy's like, I don't, and he like can't let it go.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I want to be a veterinarian. He's like, I don't understand. He's like, you can't be a veterinarian of wild animals. Where you treat them in the woods, who pays you? He's like, never mind, doesn't make sense. It's such a great moment. I had a lot of fun with that. But once again, I want to go to this. He's like, listen, I'm a responsible adult. It's impossible for me to change. It's impossible for me to censor myself around a 7-year-old. It's up to you, Phoebe, to not swear based on what you hear. So instead of how old do you think Roy is?
35.
35?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to go 38.
Okay.
Roy's 38. 7-year-old. Who has the impulse control here to like control what comes out of their mouth? The 7-year-old or the 38-year-old?
I mean, if you just say that sentence and you don't tell me it's Roy and Phoebe, I would say the
38-year-old.
38-year-old. But knowing Roy and his character, I don't think this man is capable of that kind of change.
Okay.
That's a lot to ask.
I think it's crazy that the onus is on the child and not on Roy. I think most of us have, well, there are some people out there. Most of us have a filter that we can turn on in company. Like, you're at a little kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
Most of us are not going to be, like, speaking in the same way we would, or maybe we do it in hushed tones or something. But, yeah, I don't know. So I just think it's interesting that Roy's like, listen, Phoebe, you've got to be better than me because it's impossible for me to change.
Listen, I have 3 nieces who are all older than Phoebe, whose mom curses like a sailor, and I have never heard these kids cuss.
Okay.
So like I think there's like and I'm not defending it. I think Roy can absolutely just at least hold it back a little bit here. But I think like to think that kids aren't hearing this language from other people or likely other kids in the class is probably ignorant. Like they're hearing a lot of these words.
Sure.
And they just need to know like these are grown up words. You shouldn't be using them.
Right.
And Roy has never really set that expectation with Phoebe. So now they're having that conversation with her. But I do love how like she says like I said it to a person that was being a jerk or whatever it
A
was.
bully.
Yeah,
I said
exactly.
it. I said it to that kid because he's a bully. You taught me to stand
To
up to
stand up,
bullies.
which I appreciate. And I think he even mentioned too, like, I'm as good as the best you was Phoebe's line,
Right.
which I thought was really adorable and very well stated.
The best part is she's like, I stand up to bullies and referees,
Yeah.
and like that
He
gets
gives a
Roy.
little
He's like,
smile.
oh man, she's got me right
Yeah.
there. And then she's like, please come in and play Princess and Dragon.
I can be the dragon this time.
No, no, you cannot.
All right, you better fix my wand.
You better fix the wand. Just that like bit right there, so good.
Tells you so much.
Yeah, and he's a good uncle.
Mm-hmm.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Then we find ourselves back at Dr. Sharon's. This is Ted dropping Dr. Sharon off at her government housing, or not government housing, corporate housing, forgive me. And yeah, it's weird. He like notices the wine bottles. There's like a book on midlife crisis,
But
he's caging this room like
steps
he's a
out of his
cop.
way.
Yeah,
like he
it's
goes
weird.
into her bedroom and like gives a little look. Oh, is there anything snoopy for me to see in here? Doesn't see anything. Then goes to the table, lifts up the book that was turned on the other side
That's
to
fair.
be able to read the cover. Like it's kind of a jerk move. And like I don't know, like you shouldn't necessarily be stepping into somebody's home unless they invite you. So, but now we know now that Ted is not a vampire, which is good for us to know.
Oh, because he would have had to have
He would have had
been
to have asked.
asked permission.
Yes. So
Sure.
there's still the case is still out for Roy and Beard. They could be vampires, but now we know definitively that he's not a vampire.
I'm proud that you haven't let this go,
Yeah.
that you're still investigating, because it's certainly something I've given a lot of time and thought to.
But yeah, it was a weird sequence, and like even like how this whole kind of thing ends, and his little banter back and forth. It seems like Ted is still kind of uncomfortable-ish when he gives her the water, and Ted does like seemingly the same uncomfortable scenario of him trying to sit on the couch. He decides to drink this water for 15 seconds of on screen time, which was odd. I don't understand it.
She asks him if he wants water, and she's like, "Oh, is tap okay?" And his line is, "I like my water like Kyrie Irving likes his earth, flat," which is a great line.
It's a sad line.
It is a little bit sad, but people are strange. I guess my thought here with Ted, giving him the benefit of the doubt, like I didn't feel like he was staying there and there to be snoopy. What I really thought is he's worried about her. He cares about her.
Mm-hmm.
She's had a brain injury. He wants to make sure she's okay and doesn't like lay down and collapse immediately. So, but I do get like there's the weird looks and like the camera cuts to these three, bottles that are open and empty.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't drink those all in one day. You know,
and
lots of us have empty
Yeah.
booze bottles laying around their house from minutes ago, hours ago. You don't know when those were consumed. Don't judge us. I'm sorry. This is about Dr. Sharon. Never mind.
But
I don't know.
Why does he take down the whole water? Is that just supposed to be a funny bit? Is that like him being polite and wanting to drink the whole thing? It is. I always think this is a weird thing too when somebody asks, "Do you want a drink?" and then they give them the drink and immediately tell them, "Okay, now leave." Like if you're going to offer somebody a drink, which Dr. Sharon does, he's
Right.
like, "Hey, do you want some water?" That is inviting Ted to now stay for at least a conversation.
Well, this is the same thing I think we talked about on this, and I recently saw it on the TV show Yellowstone, where because it's like someone leaving a scene has got to happen. So like inevitably it's like, "Oh, I'm going to sit with you. We're going to have a discussion." And then I don't like what I hear, so I get up and leave. Or because the scene has to cut and it's got to watch me leave. Like I literally sat down for 30 seconds. I was like, "Oh, how are you? Yeah, yeah. All right, well, I got to go." And you're like, "Well, why don't you sit down?
Yeah.
Like what's happening here?" So I feel like this is just a TV-ism. Like, she offered him water, we do the bit with the water, and then he's immediately got to leave.
So
But
you think they're kind of playing on the trope of that?
I don't think they're playing on the trope.
No.
I don't think they know what they're doing. I think it's just a TV-ism.
Okay.
It's like anytime someone's like, they go to a bar, they sit down. We talked about this. Just sit down for a drink.
Mhm.
The person takes like one sip, they get into an argument, and the person leaves. You're like, wait, you just paid for that drink. It was like $15.
Well, no, they just left. The other person has to pay.
Yeah,
for the
like what's going on here? I don't know. So, but I actually thought more than him sitting on the couch and being awkward, him drinking the water, I appreciated a bit more.
It could have gone on for another minute or two. That would have been better.
My hope is they did 17 takes and Jason Sudeikis was just super waterlogged the rest of the day.
Constantly going to the bathroom.
Yeah. So then we are at outside the restaurant. Rebecca stressing out in the back seat of her Bentley.
Yeah.
Her driver is taken
I think it's
there.
Rolls, man. It's
Rolls, sure. Keely calls her. Keely is wearing whiteface. I don't know. Are you allowed to use that term? I don't know what she's doing.
She just has her mask, her skincare mask.
Okay, well, she's outside. She doesn't want to go into the restaurant. She doesn't know she's meeting Sam, but she's nervous. I don't know why anyone that looks like Rebecca would ever be nervous, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
no, she's obviously put a lot into this, and it's a very when you're doing all this stuff via text and things, like, it's a different relationship than when you meet, because you build up this person to look like something, to act like something. So regardless of what other situations going on, it's a nervous situation.
I forget how many dating apps you're on, and where you run into this situation all the time. But if I recall right, you typically tell your driver, we're done here, and you leave before you go into the restaurant, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I have my driver go into the restaurant, scope it out, see who's in there waiting, and then take pictures, bring them back in, and if it's not up to snuff, we bail.
Right, but first you send a message on BANTR or Bumble, whatever you use, and you're like, hey, look outside. I'm in the Rolls.
Bird.
You give the bird, and then you drive off. Classic.
Bird by bird, or bird to bird, whatever he says.
Bird to bird. Keely tells her to go inside. She goes inside. We have this moment where the audience knows. We're in on the joke.
Yeah.
But Sam and Rebecca, for a long time, don't realize that. Should they have realized it was each other?
No, I think both of them are kind of like, they're kind of startled a little bit. I thought their reactions were kind of cool, interesting, like in the beginning here, because it kind of like almost makes Rebecca like a little bit less nervous. She's like, oh, there's somebody here I know.
Sure.
Like, I'm able to kind of like converse or whatever kind of while I wait. But the longer she sits there and starts texting back with Keely, like she's getting more and more nervous. Not putting things together yet. But
right. So the thing she sends to Keely is, Sam is here, awkward.
Yeah.
And then she does this thing where she's like, Keely says hi, and she's tapping her phone. I was like, Sam's going to read that message.
It was weird. That was awkward.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, this is where it's going to go. But it did not. The whooshing noise or the chiming of a BANTR message outs Rebecca, and they then realize it's the two of them.
So I thought the way they were going to do this, I thought Sam was going to send the message. Her phone would be on like silent or something. She would see the message, realize it's Sam, but Sam wouldn't be the wiser, and she would just leave. And she would like, I gotta go. And now she knows, but Sam doesn't. I thought they're going to play around with that for a couple episodes.
I like that better than...
Yeah. I love the way they did this. I thought it was really cool. Like, I love the reactions. I love Sam's, who's just like, wow, this is crazy. Can you believe this? And just trying to like...
He's so positive about it.
He's like,
and
whoa.
She's like terrified.
Yeah, and she just goes off the rails. But I think it's what these characters I think would do. Like Sam being like a younger guy, and her being kind of like a little bit kind of in her head about like, oh, you're too young.
So young.
I'm your boss. Like I get certainly the boss thing. It causes a weird dynamic. But I mean, I think the age thing, while it can be a challenge, because if you're certain years apart in terms of just generational and things to talk about, like if you don't necessarily get along, but clearly both of these people do. Like they read books, they had the same quotes and all that kind of deal. So they had an emotional connection kind of going into it. And I think Rebecca is trying to just get out of there as quickly as possible and not really think about it, whereas Sam is like, he wants to explore it and see kind of what's going on.
Right. And they have the discussion of age, where we are reminded that Sam is 21. Now, Tom, your high school yearbook was age ain't nothing but a number, if I recall right. So, how do you feel about the age difference between Rebecca and Sam?
I've got no problem with their age difference. Well, for them.
I'm joking. I'm going to cut that out, but I really had that loaded up, and so your
I don't know what you said. I liked it.
age ain't nothing but a number. You haven't heard
I liked it. You should have kept it.
Okay. Well, maybe we will. When you do the research on it, maybe you won't want it kept. But yeah, I didn't really care about the age difference. And Sam obviously has been very open about him finding Rebecca attractive. So, and I thought how Sam handled this, like you said, Sam handles it great. He's like, hey, fine. If this is weird for you, I got it. Let's just have dinner together like normal people.
We're both here, exactly. We know each other. We're in this beautiful restaurant. Let's have dinner. Let's just see where it goes.
When Rebecca keeps yelling, "I was grooming you," I thought that was very funny.
I didn't really understand that. So I looked it up, and grooming is, I guess, just somebody you're influencing somebody younger or something. I don't know exactly the terminology.
Yeah, there's certain things that will go, I don't know, sexual predators do in order to kind of soften the approach.
Because she even mentions I'm a pedophile.
I'm a pedophile, and obviously none of this stuff is fun to joke about. But the way she says it, it's like I'm grooming you because of the age differences. I don't know. It was funny in the moment, but I appreciated how Sam handled it, and Rebecca eventually gets to the place where they have a nice dinner, and then he walks her back to her place, and Rebecca's like, "I'm going in alone. I got it." And then she kisses him.
Yeah,
which
she goes.
He clearly is.
He came in.
There's a lot of close talking in some episodes of Ted Lasso.
Sam goes 90. She goes 10. That's the rule. If Hitch taught me anything. You remember the Hitch movie with Will Smith?
I'll never forget it.
You go 90.
Actually, my favorite movie. I love Paul Blart Mall
Kevin
Cop.
James.
I love Kevin James in anything. King of Queens. Paul Blart.
Grown Ups 2.
Never saw any of those,
3.
but I love them. Yeah. So
I do like Rebecca's kind of reaction. So she kisses, and then she kind of gives a little nervous laugh or whatever. She's like never again, Sam. I mean it. I have to mean it. I thought that was kind of a really it's just kind of her internalizing this. I don't want this.
To.
Yeah. I want to, but I don't want to, and I can't do this. I'm your boss, whatever. But the other thing I found interesting about this, and I think this is cool. I'm glad they put this relationship out there. What we've seen is anything going on with any of the players, they're telling everybody else on the team. Mm-hmm. So I'm very interested to see, is Sam going to keep this quiet because of the weird boss dynamic? And probably, I'm going to assume from Rebecca's standpoint, she doesn't want the whole team to know that that is who it is. Or is he going to tell the team? Because the team is obviously going to be all about, hey, how did the date go? What happened? So let's see where this.
So what is your guess? Do you think he goes back to the team? The team's like, hey, tell us about it. How does it go? And Sam goes, no show.
I don't think he's going to go no show. I think he's just going to say it went well. But he's just not going to
say who it was.
Yeah.
So that conversation would have already happened, right? Because then we moved to the game time, and so he's clearly been in the locker room.
Yeah, that kiss, this all happened and stuff.
So no. What I'm saying is the conversation with the team would have already happened, and they don't do it in the episode, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're right.
Because we see that one scene where he's doing the interview after the game, and they make eyes at each other.
Yeah.
But he would have already returned from this.
So
maybe they don't address it in the show. Maybe they will. I don't know.
I feel like they have to do it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
My hope is that Sam goes back to the team and he says, it went well, I'm married, and now I have 3 children.
Wow, 3 already.
Yes. I don't know how long any of that stuff takes. Then we're back at Sharon's flat. She's watching TV. What's she watching, Tom? Did you notice?
Lust Conquers All.
Lust Conquers All. I think that's what it was, right?
It was. Yeah.
Some comfort food. Some comfort shows.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have comfort shows, Tom?
Yeah. I think we talked about it. What's the actual version of Lust Conquers All that I watched?
No. I'm not talking about trashy bad TV.
Okay.
I'm talking about you're home. You don't want to put too much thought into a show. You just turn something on in the background and you throw a blanket on, maybe some chicken noodle soup, maybe some Sprite. You're at home sick. That's what I'm describing right now.
Me and my wife record every episode of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune every single day.
Okay.
We don't watch them, but we have like the rolling 5 episodes always on our DVR at all times. So yes, when we want just something silly and stupid on the background, we'll watch each of those.
Okay. Much like most people, mine would be, since thank you for asking the question, mine would probably be like obviously The Office or like Parks and Rec or Community. Those would probably be my 3. Or Arrested Development if I'm feeling brave.
Problem with the rest of it, it's just not on syndication anywhere. You have to mindfully go to Netflix or find it.
Tom,
I guess you do that with all of your shows.
I don't have cable DVR, buddy.
Touche.
Everything's streaming in this house. Lasso tells her that he's going to check in every 20 minutes, and he does a Kermit the Frog impression.
I couldn't tell what voices he was doing.
Oh,
was
really?
The first one Kermit?
It was Kermit. The subtitles will tell you. It says Kermit impression. I thought it was really good. Yeah.
I missed it.
And then it's like Sling Blade impression. It's great. Yeah. I don't know what the last one was.
I've heard you do a really good Kermit impression.
No, I'm not falling for this.
Okay.
No.
It's just what I've heard. That's from the streets.
Okay.
From the streets.
Well, good on you. I hate you. I won't even attempt.
You know you want to try.
I do want to try, but I can't hear it in my voice.
This will go out to our millions of listeners. They love it.
I'm Kermit. Did I do it?
You nailed it, man.
All right. Anyways. Damn it. I'm Kermit. Why? Why did I take the bait? Why? Oh, man. Oh, that's just pride. Pride cometh before the fall. That's what that was. All right.
I'm a Swedish chef, man. Hey, you go get some food.
Very nice. Are those even the same Muppet shows?
Yeah, they're all Muppets.
Okay.
Kermit's a Muppet.
Never mind. I'm revealing some stuff about myself. I'm a VeggieTales guy. That's all I know. All right. So Ted is checking in. She thanks him. And she does this thing where she thanks him for the pep talk, because one of the things he talks about while he's in her apartment looking at the bike is, hey, get back on the horse. Like, don't be afraid just because you had one bad incident on the bike. Get back on it. And so she makes the point of saying, hey, riding my bike is something I enjoy. Thank you.
Yeah, she opens up.
And I would like to mention that since my biking incident, I've never ridden a bike since.
That can't be true. Is that true?
No, it can't be true.
Okay,
I don't think so. Anyways, he starts to say something. Fear is a lot like underwear. And she cuts him off. She's like, hey, I don't need a pep talk. I just want to say thank you.
Okay.
Did you give thought to fear is like underwear and how that...
I've got some takes.
Okay. Can I hear them?
Fear is a lot like underwear. Everyone has them, but it's considered polite to keep them covered up. Maybe.
Okay.
Or
you know what? Let's undress that. Let's undress that like people would undress underwear.
Oh, okay.
Fear is a lot like underwear. Give it to me again.
Okay. Everyone has them, but it's considered polite to keep them covered up.
So it would almost be like you should suffer silently.
Yes.
You should cover your fears.
I figured you would enjoy this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't give much thought to this. I'm glad you did. That's incredible. Listen, when I die, gravestone.
You want that?
Fear is a lot like underwear. Everyone has them, but it's considered polite to keep them covered up.
What about my second one? Fear is a lot like underwear. It creeps up on you.
That was good too.
Okay.
That was good too. I like the first one. I feel like any of these my 8-year-old son would die laughing on. So no, those were good. Good on you. Then we're in Wembley Stadium. I keep wanting to add an R. It's not an R. It's Wembley.
Where do you want to add an R?
Wemberley.
Yeah, we're just Wembley.
So not Wemberley.
Nope. You sound like an idiot when you say it like that.
Like Kimberly, but with a W. Wimberley.
No, you're getting further away.
No, I know I'm getting further away. I'm saying that's where my brain is going.
Okay,
my brain is typically going further away.
Your brain's wrong.
Okay.
Your brain's wrong in this instance.
Not the first time. Won't be the last time, my friend. So, this is where the FA Cup is played?
No.
Is this because Man City
So this is semi. We're in the semifinals. So semifinals and finals of the FA Cup are played in Wembley.
Okay, got it.
This is a gigantic stadium. It's one of the largest stadiums in Europe. It's kind of the pinnacle of English football.
Okay.
So all the big games are kind of played here. It was originally built in 1923.
Whoa.
Wait,
Tom,
go.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I didn't do a whole lot of research on it, but yeah, I looked it up. So it's built in '93, and they did a huge renovation on it in 2007, which I think they actually demolished the entire thing and rebuilt it where it was. I could be wrong on that, but it is a gorgeous, beautiful stadium. They do a lot of obviously aerial shots. They do that really epic shot of them kind of walking out and stuff here.
Thrilling musical score.
Yeah.
They brought John Williams in. John Williams is like, no, I'm making the 30th Star Wars film. They're like, no, we need you to score this one Ted Lasso episode.
Well, if you listen to it, it's the same notes or the same beats of the Ted Lasso music we get a lot more in season 1, but they just kind of epic it up a little bit. So if you go back and listen to it, I think
You're not talking about the theme song. You're talking about
it's not the theme song, but it's some of if you listen to Marcus Mumford's Ted Lasso soundtrack album, which does a lot of just the instrumental stuff.
Sure.
It has that same kind of sequence as it kind of comes in. So really cool, gorgeous stadium, and I'm really glad they were able to. You can clearly tell from a acting standpoint, they were able to just walk up to the pitch. Nobody was able to walk onto the pitch. Yeah.
Get off the pitch!
Yeah.
Nate comes running in yelling.
But yeah, beautiful stadium, and it was really cool that they were able to feature it here.
Funny back and forth here where Ted's like, listen, I watched Freddie Mercury perform at Live Aid right over there. Yeah. They're like, wrong one. Yeah. Wasn't this one. And he's like, the stadium where Freddie Mercury never stepped foot in. All that stuff it was just great. Mm-hmm. And then he gets into, hey, this is the same size pitch we play at home.
Yeah.
Nope, not right. Different size.
I didn't realize. So I think Nate says it's 500 square yards
500
bigger,
square yards bigger is what Nate says.
Gigantic. And we talked about it from previous pods where there is no quote unquote regulation field. And I appreciate that even Beard's saying this is a huge advantage for Man City because certain teams that possess the ball or want to be able to run into space, having these bigger fields is a big deal.
I didn't realize that. I just assumed they would know the terrain, like where the hills are and where the rivers are on this giant field. But I did find the back and forth and Ted making his comments and Roy being like, no. Every time, no. So
good.
Did
you get the Beats alert? So Roe had beats on his head.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
No, I only watch when it's Higgins' children. Sorry. Blue Moon is being sung because we cut from here. Oh, wait, no. As we're leaving, Jamie shouts Richmond.
Yeah.
Now, this would have been the stadium Jamie played in, right?
No, I don't.
Because he was on Man City.
He was, but this is not Man City Stadium. This is literally just a stadium built in the middle of England where they play a lot of big games. They do concerts. They do all sorts. Just a venue.
I had the impression that this was Man City's home field.
No. This
is no one plays here regularly.
From when I was doing some research, it's actually owned by the Football Association. So the FA Cup, that organization or association, whatever, they actually own the stadium and stuff. So I don't know how all the dynamics and stuff
work.
So
it is not a team's home field.
No.
It is like a stadium used for just big games.
Yes, exactly that.
Huh. Yep. Interesting. Okay. Because I got the sense Jamie was looking at it in wonder, and part of me was like, wait, Jamie played here. Why would Jamie be blown away by... I thought of it as a home team, home field advantage for Man City.
Yeah, Man City Stadium is the Etihad. It's like the Etihad Stadium. It's I think it's who their sponsor was for a long time. I think there might be an airline.
Are you saying
Etihad.
Etihad? Like an AT-AT or one of those walkers from Star Wars.
ETIHAD. Etihad.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Okay.
But yeah, so not where Jamie's played. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know if Jamie's played here, right? We've established he was on.
No, I thought it was home field for him.
So fair.
Yeah, so that was my mistake. Okay.
I do appreciate him screaming Richmond. That was pretty cool.
That was great. Yep. And then the camera watching it echo off each part of the stadium because you can watch sound echo. Blue Moon is sung by the crowd because we cut from the team leaving to the crowd gathering for the game. I feel like Blue Moon, because the subtitles told me Blue Moon was being sung. I feel like that has some sort of
I think it's a
significance.
chant. I mean, I haven't looked this up, but I think it's fair to say like this is probably a popular Manchester City chant that they sing.
Okay.
So like we talked about like the West Ham United in previous pods, like they do like a Bubbles song. They just do Blue Moon, and they all just kind of sing it to be able to just get the crowd like together and just jazz for the game.
Sure. We cut to the pub crowd. One of them is like, listen, if Richmond wins, we're all getting Richmond tattoos. Which I think one of them has like a groundhog neck tattoo.
I noticed that. Yeah.
I was like, wait. No. You jumped the gun there a little bit, buddy.
Another tattoo.
And the publican, she's like, I've already got one. And they're like, where? She's like, mind your own business. Great exchange right there.
Well, we also cut to like the annoying entrance of.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we get Papa Tart coming in.
When he has that beard, he looks like a Game of Thrones character. I was like, oh, which one of the Wildlings is that guy? Is that what they were called?
Yeah,
the
Wildlings. Yeah.
So then, go on.
We hate this character.
James Tart, your favorite character. You've said it several times.
Papa Tart. I mean, he's just obnoxious coming in. Like, he's saying he's my boy, saying, oh, he's playing for the wrong team, but he's still my son, and like he's yelling at all the crowd. Like he's just, and I get that's obviously what they're trying to do is just make him incredibly obnoxious. But I'm hoping people like this don't exist to this level.
Well, then the question would be like, you're such a diehard fan that you will wear your team's kit over your son's kit, who is playing for the other team.
But he's wearing his son's kit when he played on Man
Right,
City.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't the better thing be for him to obtain one of those street made Richmond kits that has BANTR in crayon on the front? Isn't that a more supportive dad move?
Listen, maybe we're jumping to conclusions. Maybe this is a custom Papa Tart jersey he bought for himself.
Okay.
This is his last name. Not Jamie's.
That's a good point. That's a great point. It's like if one of our kids grew up and played on the Rams and we like went to his game, we would not probably wear a Cardinals jersey. We would probably get a Rams jersey to support our kid.
I don't know. Now that you say that out loud, maybe.
Okay, all right. A house divided. I got it. The coaches are together pre-game, and they have this funny moment where Ted, like they put their hands in, and Ted shares that he had a panic attack, and it wasn't just a stomach flu.
Yep.
Part of me kind of felt like he would have already told them this, or like, I don't know. I was a little bit surprised, like, oh, this is news. I thought but I guess they didn't know he had it at karaoke, and they didn't know he had it at that game. So, and it's funny because it's like once one person confesses their sins, everyone's got to confess their sins.
Yeah.
So Higgins is like, I screwed up the time change, and that's why we don't have that brilliant Brazilian midfielder.
I love
whatever
Beard is like, he's contemplating not accepting it and being like, you jerk. I needed that guy. But now he's like, yeah, all right.
Roy's great. I don't read your scouting reports. I don't want to. I won't. They're boring. And then Nate's was pretty soft. He's like, I pretend ideas I come up with are spontaneous, but I've been thinking of them for weeks.
So it's got to be, is that his park the bus defense? He's had that idea for a long time.
I guess.
Get down.
I thought it was funny in this one. He's like, oh, park the bus. He immediately went with park the bus during the game. And then Beards is great.
Yeah.
I didn't see Beards coming. Beards like, one of the games I was on mushrooms. And it's because he was staying with Jane and he used the wrong teapot. And the best part about this is just the interchange of Roy being like, wait, it was I don't remember what game
like a specific game, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it was that game. And Roy's like, yeah. So,
you knew.
Or like Beard's like, yeah. So Roy knew.
Something was up.
Yeah, that was great. Butts on 3?
1, 2, 3.
Butts.
Was that a callback to something?
I didn't know if that was a season 2 commercial or like that's why we saw that, or if that happened on one of the other ones.
I should have researched it. I think this might be a callback to the original YouTube videos. I want to say like maybe they did this there. I could be wrong, but it's fantastic because Ted's like, we got to go kick their butts. He's like, all right, butts on 3.
1, 2, works for me. 1, 2, 3 butts. the exit as Ted and Beard leave the room. Ted's like, "So you're drinking tea now, huh?" And Beard's like, "I don't know. I didn't know how to tell you."
Like that was the big poll. Yeah.
That was so great. The announcer really goes for it. He gives that epic speech about like what's at stake and the history, and I kept expecting another announcer to like cut in with some sort of like undercutting snide, but they just let the announcer go, explain the stakes.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. I feel like when they start this scene though, it's like doing like the dun dun. I thought they were literally going to go into the Jamie Tart, the Baby Shark Jamie Tart thing. But it goes into that like classical music, which that score is just perfect over this scene.
This was a long episode. Did you clock it? 45. Yeah. So most of them were like 32, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. I appreciated that they cut this game. Like I don't know. I felt like this would be a lot more soccer.
They're walking onto the pitch, and I'm like, how much time is left in this episode? Because I'm like, they have to be at the half-hour mark, and then I saw there's like 12 minutes left. So like they obviously. They did enough of this game, but they went through it pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of like what they've done in other ones where it's going to be like an epic game, and then they cut to the score, and it's like, final was. So Richmond gets killed 5-0. And there's an own goal in there, Tom.
So
did you see the own goal?
There was also a passive offsides. I don't know if you saw that. Beard had to explain. He didn't explain it, but Ted didn't know what that meant.
Is that a term? I just thought like he was offsides, but they didn't call it, sort of thing.
I again probably should have looked this up. I'm sure some
passively
people will tell me I'm an idiot, but my understanding.
Tell us we're an idiot at Team Binge Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah,
no, Team Binge Podcast at gmail.com. That's what it is, right?
Okay. But I think passive offsides is when normally offsides is when you pass the ball and you as an offender are past the last defender, not including the goalie. But a passive offsides is when there's two offensive players past the most forward defender. So the ball just has to go, or the player has to be behind the ball when it's passed to him.
Nope.
Yep.
Don't follow. Yeah. All right.
Terrible explanation, but
no. That was not a reflection on your explanation. That was a reflection on my ability to focus on something at this moment.
Butterfly.
Thank you. Squirrel. Did you think they were going to lose?
I don't know what I thought. Like, I feel like they didn't give me enough time.
Have any expectations?
I didn't have enough time to think about what they were going to do. I guess in my mind, I thought they would. Because we're episode 8 right now. We know there's a handful more. This is the semifinals. Maybe it would end with them going to the finals. I have no idea what they're doing with this team in terms of their soccer status, because all they've been focusing on is this FA Cup game. Now they've lost this. We don't know where they are in the league play. If they're going to get promoted back up to the champion or the Premier League to then play these big Premier League teams, like, I don't know what they're doing.
So what I'm realizing is, like, maybe Ted is giving us like the hint throughout the show, which is he doesn't care about wins and losses.
Yeah.
And like deep down, we care about wins and losses. So like we are associating the success of this team with wins and losses and being relegated.
Promoted.
Yep. Being promoted. And so like I do find myself being like, wait, what's the team doing? Like, where are we at in the standings?
Yeah.
Like, but the Lasso philosophy is that stuff doesn't matter. Are we making these people better? Are they being better?
Yeah.
So I'm interested from a show perspective. Are they going to embrace like the Lassoism of it all? And we'll get to the end of the show and it'll be like, hey, the team's middle of the road, but all these people are better people. And so we should all feel great about that. Or like, is the final thing like, hey, they win it all, and that's what really mattered the whole time? Like, that's what I'm like. I don't know what they're doing.
It's a weird dichotomy, but like, I mean, you talk about like the way Beard called out Ted in the first season. Like, these are professionals. Like, these guys are paid to like, and you're paid
this
to
matters.
Whatever. And when you get relegated and continue to get relegated in these lesser leagues, like now you're not bringing in the money. Like, there's likely a lot of back end support people that are not going to have jobs anymore.
Right.
So it's a business, and Ted is not treating it like one. So I don't know what the consequences are, but you're 100% right. It's a very astute point. Like, what is the show trying to tell us? Because they're trying to tell us the Lasso way is the best way, but constantly having the team lose, like, is that Is that where we should be going?
Because, like, in a classic sports movie is they're bad, they make changes, people grow.
Yep.
Like, the triumph
And
is
they win.
the win.
Yep.
Like, that's the win. Like, is that the model of Lasso, or is it they win because they're better people at the end? One of sports movies that does it really well is like Friday Night Lights. Like, I'm pretty sure they lose at the end of that one. Spoilers, trigger alert, whatever. And that movie, not the show, but the movie, like, they lose that game, and it's based on a book, based on real life. But so that's like, what is the show going to do? That's what I'm kind of curious about. And obviously, this being season 2, I don't feel like I'm going to get that conclusion until season 3. And like,
well, they're gonna have more seasons. Like I think we can establish.
Oh, you think they're going past 3?
They have to. They have to. It's too much of a cash cow.
Does that mean you and I are going to have to do more than 3 seasons?
It's up to our audience if they want to keep listening to us jabber about this.
Please don't.
Please don't.
No, I would love to talk with you about anything and everything. Certainly Black Mass, which is the next show we'll be doing.
Black Mass?
Is that what it was called?
Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass, sure. Blue Moon plays again, different version.
We got the doo-wop version.
Doo-wop version. We should have probably looked up Blue Moon as a song because
I can just sing it for you. Blue Moon. Do you want to keep going?
No.
Okay.
Jamie's dad is cheering on Man City. Nate has this funny moment where he yells at the ref.
Yep.
And it's Mike Dean.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with Mike Dean?
He's a famous English ref. Yeah.
Okay. Why is he famous?
He's a great ref, and he's like recognizable as like the bald head or whatever, super skinny guy. But he's a very famous ref. I'm sure a lot of like maybe our English audience like hates him because he's had bad calls.
Sure. No one likes refs.
Yeah, I know.
No one watches the games like, oh, this is the ref I like.
Yeah. But he was good. I thought he did some good little. Not that he's acting necessarily that hard. He's playing himself.
He walks over and he's like, sorry, mate, you can't say that. Gives him the yellow card, and Nate goes to the bench. Yeah. And Ted's like, sorry, Mike, we all know you have a wiener, or whatever he says to him. It's great. And I feel like Nate did that, like, not for the team necessarily. Nate just did it for... It almost felt like a publicity stunt for Nate.
It's the show just continuing to tell us that Nate is kind of a jerk.
Okay.
I think is what it is. Like, because he was kind of likable this episode, and then we have to remind us, oh, hey, Nate's a jerk.
Nate's a jerk, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And then, is this where Beard gets, like, mad at Ted?
I think they score another goal, and then Beard's just crazy frustrated.
Oh, he throws his hat down.
Yeah.
Ted picks his hat up and he goes, hey, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And Beard says something like, oh, yeah, it is what it is. And then he does that tumble over the fence.
He does the tumble, like, which was great. I love the
physical comedy.
Slapstick comedy,
so
yeah.
Oh, God! He goes, oh, God! And he falls over it.
But like, he is genuinely upset, and I think that's what drives him, like, leaving at the end of this episode and potentially going to deal with this loss in the way Ted or the way Beard is going to deal with it. But like, I thought this was harking back to the season 1 and him telling him, like,
I hate
this
losing.
Is not, yeah, I hate losing. This is not is what it is. Like, we are here to do a job, and we are not doing it. We are failing.
Right. And what's interesting is there is a point during the game where Nate and Beard are like, we need to park the bus. No, we need to do this. And Ted's like, no, it's all fine. He breaks. He's like, hey, come on, guys. And he just claps. And it's like, wait, I don't know how to manage a football team, but I don't know that it's
probably
that.
Not.
Yeah. So, anyways, when he goes over the fence, then you just hear him go, oh, God! It's such a good line. And, like, anytime Beard gets mad at Ted, you're kind of like, does Beard have a point? Like, what did Ted do here? Did Ted do enough?
Well, because when Beard does get mad at Ted, it's usually, I mean, I think what we've seen thus far, it's Ted, or Beard is in the right.
Right.
And he doesn't get to explain himself that often.
Right.
He just kind of calls him out.
I think, so the game ends, and there's like a weird tone of like, are we upset they lost? Is it comical how they lost? Is it comical? Like, the announcer's like, the one bright spot is Obasanya's hair looked great. And I was like, wait, what?
That was weird.
Why would an announcer ever say that?
Like, a lot of footballers have like hair that's like on point all the time. Like, it's part of their brand, if you will. So it's
Sam
not rare.
looked great, but like, I don't realize that was the bright spot in the game. Post game, Sam's giving an interview, and he's like, "Hey, it's tough that we let the fans down." Rebecca walks by, they make eyes at each other. That's how you know they're in love.
Well, and I kind of like, because we don't hear the rest of Sam's speech now. We hear it later.
When
but
she's
I like,
watching it.
I like the contextual stuff here. Like, he starts kind of saying what he says, sees Rebecca, and then is now correlating that loss and his, budding relationship with Rebecca.
Sure.
And kind of what gets said. I like the way they did that.
Yeah, I did too. And then Jamie's dad comes into the locker room. This was weird, right?
Yeah, it was weird the first season when Jamie's dad came into the locker room.
So, is anyone this obnoxious? Or, like, is anyone, like, there's a circular room of a bunch of footballers who just lost a game.
Yeah.
You look like a wildling from Game of Thrones. And you're going to walk in there and, like, he's like a clown. Like, he's, like, he's almost like a crazy person, like... I don't know. It was weird. I was like, wait, what? No one's going to stop this?
I almost wish we were watching this together and we can pause. Like, after he first comes in the room and just starts being obnoxious, I wanted to pause this with you and just look and say, which one of these people do you think is going to punch him?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You knew he was going to get punched.
Yeah.
I thought it might be Ted. I'm glad it was
I thought
Jamie.
it was Beard. I thought Beard was going to hit him.
Yeah. Well, Beard, he does.
Yeah, Beard does.
Oops.
Like,
watch the door on the way out. Whoops. But yeah, it was just, it's, I don't know, like, of a show that's just trying to be like, well, I don't know. I feel like the show's more...
It was over the top. Like, once again, I thought about your comments about, like, needing a villain.
Mhm.
Like, it was like, okay, so this guy's the villain in this scene.
Yeah.
And so we don't have anyone else. The team's sad. So this guy is going to be this. And obviously we have to have all these callbacks to father-son relationships.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt weird. Jamie hits him.
There's ways to do this, like, subtly, and I think there's, and I would argue, a lot better ways to do this. And I'm not a writer by any means, but like the way they approach this and just so heavy-handed, you don't need to do this, and it almost makes it comical and takes you out of it. But I do think this does build up to a very emotional moment with Jamie and Roy.
Oh, I think where they get to is like super interesting.
Yeah.
But the way. And I don't know if it was the actor that did it. I don't know if this was like the writing or the guidance. But it was like, don't be so like over the top clownishly bad.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. So he comes in and Jamie finally hits him. And it's like, everyone in that room should be celebrating. Everyone is like weirded out that Jamie just hit that guy. But like, hit that guy.
But
like,
it is a weird, like, if you're in that room and like this is his father and like a son punching his father because a father is being as obnoxious as this is, I think this, as tight knit as we've seen this team, like, they know this isn't just like a funny moment. Like, this is big and like heartfelt.
I don't know.
Kind of a deal.
That guy was so comical that I didn't feel that way. Had it been played, I mean, I'm assuming everyone in the locker room is like, hey, that guy's south of the wall. Get him. He's a wilding. You know? I don't know. And so, get the Night's Watch. Anyways.
Dragon Glass.
What else what other buzzwords from a show that's older than... Anyways. Great moment. Jamie hits him.
Hodor.
Jamie, like, Phil Dunster, or whatever his name is.
Yep.
Great job in this.
Yeah.
Like, acting-wise, he looks like... He's got that, like, I just hit my father in the face, like the man that I love, the man that I also hate.
Yeah.
Like, he goes through all that. Beard's great here. Beard comes in, picks him up, throws him through the door. He's like, oops. And then Ted just leaves. Like, Ted just runs out. I was like, wait, what? What is Ted doing here?
So when Ted leaves, did you notice this? The TV that's up on the wall, smashed.
No.
The TV is smashed. Somebody threw something at the TV. So I don't know if they filmed it and they cut it out and they missed it in post.
Someone got mad and threw something at the TV, you think?
Yeah, no, like it is, it literally looks, it's splintered, it's cracked, it's broken. It's like when McAdoo threw the chair or whatever at the TV and broke it in the film episode. It is broken. So maybe it was,
that at all.
Maybe it's a callback to McAdoo. Maybe McAdoo threw something at this TV. But I thought it was almost kind of weird. I almost thought maybe they filmed a sequence where Ted threw something at the TV when he left in anger.
Are they visitor locker room? Visitor locker room gets the shattered TV. Is that a thing?
maybe.
I don't know.
But it was a weird
I did not
touch.
notice the shattered TV. I just noticed Ted not saying anything,
Yep.
not encouraging anything, like not going to Jamie's aid. He just walks out. And I guess based on like the conversation he has with Dr. Sharon,
Mhm.
what he witnesses in this room is dredging up all of his father stuff.
Yeah.
I I I don't know. I just didn't like Jamie's the one in crisis here.
Yeah.
Don't like depart and but who comes to Jamie's aid?
It's Roy.
It's Roy.
Yeah.
Beautiful moment.
It was, man. I cheered up.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was like
Because he didn't say anything. Roy knew what Jamie needed in this
Yep.
in the scene, and it just needed somebody to embrace him and just say like, "Hey, man, I'm here for you." And then Jamie lets loose. Like Jamie starts crying and realizes he's in a safe space with all these guys that love him.
right. And I don't know. They did a great job. Brett Goldstein does a great job. Phil Dunster does an incredible job.
Mm-hmm.
And then what starts playing is "Beware of Darkness" by George Harrison.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the song?
I am. Very great song.
Okay. George Harrison was one of the
Rolling Stones.
Beatles,
Oh, sorry.
and he is still alive.
Yes.
Okay, good for me.
He's not
And
still alive. He's not still alive.
oh no,
No, just regular Paul at this point, unfortunately.
Okay. I'm so close. How many years off am I?
He's been gone for 15, 20
right.
years.
God rest his soul. Interesting song to play. I thought it hit. And then we find ourselves, Ted is calling Dr. Sharon, and he shares, and this is like a super, like we're getting hit with a lot of emotional stuff and like rapid
Yeah.
fire. And we find out that, and Ted shares with her that his dad killed himself when he was 16.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to him
the
playing
darts.
darts,
Mhm.
him talking about his dad, and up until he, when he died at 16. And then the other time is him talking with Jamie at the pub,
Mm-hmm.
and he says to Jamie, "My dad was a lot harder on himself than he ever was on me."
Mhm.
And like Jamie's like, "Oh, you lucked out," and
Yeah.
you see that look on. So like this clearly was written in, and this is the story of Ted. And I thought Jason Sudeikis did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously him and Dr. Sharon talking about how his dad committing suicide when he was 16 like affects who he is, and,
Yeah.
and her recognizing that.
And I'll just say from my standpoint, like suicide is not a light topic, and I don't think they're being light-handed in this, but we are two guys that I haven't necessarily dealt with suicide or anything in my family. I just want to say, like, when we first started recording this podcast, we knew it was like a drama comedy, but we are not people that are, I think, adequately fit to talk openly about this. If you have thoughts of suicide or anything like that, all I can say is just seek help and find it. Because I just whenever these kind of situations kind of come up, like I as a podcaster, I know people listen. Like I don't know necessarily what to say, and please don't look to us for any sort of help, because I don't think we're going to be the people to find it. If you need help, search for it.
Sure. Yeah. Talk to someone.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just a transition in this show from he's witnessing something happen between a son and a dad that he feels like he needs to share with Dr. Sharon.
I think he's known for a long time that this is the crux of all of his deep-seated emotional issues, and has been afraid to kind of say it. Like he even mentioned, like, "Oh, we're going to do this therapy, and you're going to eventually tell me I've got parent issues," kind of a thing. So I think deep down he kind of knew it, and what Jamie just dealt with his father was kind of that kind of catalyst for him finally reaching out to Dr. Sharon. And this happens throughout the episode, by the way, where you have multiple characters just communicating like something to somebody else, not necessarily seeking help or wanting an answer to it, but just wanting to get something off their chest.
Right.
Dr. Sharon does it with Ted, and now Ted's kind of doing it here. I think there were some other instances of it within this episode, but just getting that weight off your shoulders and like opening up to somebody, and how powerful that can be. Like, and even the person on the other side, you don't have to solve something. I think we've talked about this before.
Right, where you talk about an issue, and you as the listener, like someone sharing it with you, they're not necessarily looking for you to bring a solution.
Yeah.
They are just looking for someone to listen to them and acknowledge. I don't remember what book it was in, but I read a book once where he talked about trauma and how trauma shared is trauma like dissolved, in a sense that like you're sharing it with others, so the weight is not on you, the
Yeah.
weight is kind of shared.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, like joy or something that is like happy, you share, it's like joy multiplied,
Yeah.
like it. And so I think of it in that same way. Like when you share something, you kind of disseminate it, and it's like a little bit watered down and
Mm-hmm.
dispersed. It helps. But then with something that's like happy, you share it, and other people get some joy out of that
Yeah.
and some happiness out of that.
And we
So,
got that scene with the coaches, right? They were all in the room. Ted shares he has panic attacks, and everybody in that
right.
room put
Feels-
something off of their
yeah,
chest.
feels
And
safe enough
Higgins
to-
especially too. Like you could tell that was eating at him, and he needed to get that out.
The big H about the Brazilian. Yep. And Jason Sudeikis does a great job here. He's weeping, he's crying, and then Beard shows up, and he's gotta go from I've shared something with Dr. Sharon to I can't like let Beard know that I was just
You
like,
got to put back up this wall.
yeah. And I don't know that it's that so much. It's just like there's almost like an embarrassment aspect
Yeah.
of I felt that so emotionally. It's Beard. Beard wasn't a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Recovering from crying is something that is very difficult, and good on Jason Sudeikis being able to do it as an actor.
He does very well.
And then Beard expresses, "Hey, I don't want to go with the team."
Yeah.
He's like, and I was caught off guard by this. He's like,
Mhm.
"No, I want to shake this off." And he's like, I want to go out. You want to join me? I can't ride with the team." And I was like, I don't know. From a leadership standpoint, that's a little bit interesting. Like, you're so upset about the loss that you don't want to be with the people that were, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where they go with this. I think we know this upcoming episode is like a Beard centric episode. It's one of the bottle episodes we talked about.
Yeah.
Um.
So the Christmas episode was an additional episode.
Yeah.
The episode we're moving into, the Beard one, is
Yeah.
apparently an additional.
And we haven't watched it, but I've seen it through. I think the Next On or whatever
Mhm.
that started playing. But I think it does still, some of that little bit of Beard is still upset with Ted, with the way Ted is dealing with this loss, and it's hitting Beard more so. So Beard needs to kind of shake it off. But I do feel like the show has laid out a little bit of Beard kind of going and doing his own thing, staying up in late nights, doing like we don't know what Beard does.
Right.
We said it before, like I've said before, like Beard is kind of an enigma, and you don't understand who he is kind of personally. You just get these very like surface level things with him. So I'm interested to see what they do with a full on Beard episode, if that's what I think they're going to do.
I'm going to go on a limb and say the next episode is going to be the best episode of any season of Ted Lasso.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to put several dollars on it.
$5?
I'm not giving you any more of my money because I lost a bet on the last episode and I've given you too much already. He tells Coach Beard, he's like, "Ray, remember bird by bird." And Beard gives him the finger and he's like, "Not that bird." And both me and my wife were like, I don't know that I know the phrase bird by bird. Did you know the phrase bird by bird?
I didn't. I looked it up as well.
I looked it up. I guess it's a phrase from a book on writing where the author's dad made a comment once about, hey, take it like one step at a time. So it's bird by bird. So I didn't know how that applied in this situation.
Was Beard like reading that book at some point, or you just assume this is Ted and Beard?
Yeah, this is just Ted and Beard maybe knowing where that phrase comes from.
Gotcha.
Then we cut to Rebecca. She's texting Sam. She is watching his interview in the kitchen, which, as I watch this show, I'm realizing I need another TV in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Not the one in the living room, but
which
an
you can
additional
clearly
one.
see from the kitchen.
No, an additional one, like where the microwave is, or maybe where the oven is.
I remember when I was younger, like I thought it was so cool going over like friend's house and they had the like tiny little like 10-inch tube TV in the kitchen. I'm like, oh, that's so
luxury
cool.
Right there.
Rich
Yeah,
a-holes.
They can watch Price is Right in the middle of the day while they make breakfast or whenever you make breakfast. And she texts him on BANTR. What does
she goes on BANTR first, and then she's like, no, I'm not using BANTR anymore. I know who this person is. And then she goes to text him.
She texts him. Sam sends her his address. She goes to the door. Who's outside the door?
Sam.
Weird, right?
A little strange.
Tom, How many times in your life have you been standing in someone's front door as they left, and they found it charming?
None.
Name every situation. I'll give you the floor.
I've not been in a movie, so this has not happened to me. I've
You
come to
haven't
like
been in a
pick you up.
rom-com.
I've come to pick you up to carpool when we go play Dungeons and Dragons with our nerd friends.
Ooh, man, you are revealing a lot to the world.
And I text you when I'm outside saying,
That is a funny joke you just told. We don't play D&D.
You can cut that out. We play tennis. We've done that before.
We've done that too. I don't know that makes it better, Tom.
Yeah, tennis is great.
Oh, we're tennis and D&D players. That's what we do.
But I do like to see it. I mean, it is very cheesy for sure. But I do like it. And like Sam's line, he's like, wait, why'd you just text me your address? He's like, that's for next time. Like, super classy.
Oh,
right
man.
Sam, super classy.
Man. Sam in that blue suit and that smile.
And that haircut.
Looking great.
All day long.
The songs that play. And I thought the music cues in this one were like they went from one song to another. And I was like, man, we're hitting some hits, we'll say.
We're hitting hits.
Real quickly. It was like Keen, Somewhere Only We Know, and then Oasis, Don't Look Back in Anger. I don't know. It was a lot of... Testicle twins. All right. 45 minutes of a lot of emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested, as you say, I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm interested to see how Sam and Rebecca deal with. Now that we got to the end, something is happening there. So
yeah.
They're going to have to talk. Keely's going to have to know. The team, or some people are going to have to know.
Yeah.
I think the next episode, I don't know how much plot is going to be moved in the next episode if it's like a pure Beard-centric episode.
Yeah. I get the sense that it was, based on what you said. If it is a bottle episode, it can't necessarily tie in perfectly. I wonder if they just saw the end of this episode and realized, oh, we can now write Beard doing his own story because we've set him out on a path.
Right.
Maybe they wouldn't have done that or never even thought about doing it beforehand.
And then how Jamie, I don't know if like this moment with Jamie and Roy like changes a whole lot. I don't know if like they're going to become any closer than they are. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I don't know if it will. I feel like maybe it certainly is an emotional moment for the two of them, but I feel like they've established a relationship where Roy's still going to be hard on Jamie. Jamie's still going to be kind of a numbskull when it comes to answering. But I think if nothing else, it just adds a more healthy respect to their relationship, and I would almost say friendship at this point.
Right. So next time, when everyone joins us to talk about Ted Lasso, we will be watching Season 2, Episode 9, which, knowing it is a bottle episode purely about Beard, Tommy is going to let us know what the title of said episode is. And the title of that episode is...
Beard is Dracula.
All right. Beard is Dracula.
We're going to find out that Beard is officially Dracula. It's going to happen.
This would take a turn, much like Midnight Mass, or whatever that show was called. Did I get it right?
Sure.
Okay. I have been Julian.
And I have been Tom.
Thanks for joining us. You can send your questions or comments, only positive comments, to teambingepodcast@gmail.com, or we've been pretty active on the Twitter.
Very.
At Team Binge.
Follow us on there. Like us, tweet us. Let us know what you want to... If you have any questions, you want to share some of your favorite lines, let us know. Drop us a line.
Also getting to the point where we have to figure out what we're doing once Ted Lasso ends. So...
Yeah. We don't want to decide that. You guys figure it out.
You guys figure it out. And then we also have a meta page. Talk to us about our meta page, Tom.
I don't know. It's meta. Go.
It is meta.
Whatever.
All right.
It exists.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bring it in.
Good evening.
Butts on 3.
Butts on 3.
1, 2, 3.
Butts. Wait, one of us was supposed to say 1, 2, 3, and then go ahead. You go.
Wait. 1, 2, 3.
Butts. Done.